Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Boxiest, and today we're going to continue the What If series. What if events had gone differently? And in this What If, we're going to change the history of Cobra Kai. What if Hawk made the team during the events of Cobra Kai Season 6? So in this timeline, the events of Cobra Kai Season 6 would still happen. The Saikai Taikai would still be revealed to take place in Barcelona. So Daniel and Johnny will still have to pick 6 fighters to compete in the Saikai Taikai, and they will still have a hard time deciding on who would go. So much like in the original timeline, Daniel will still bring in Mike Barnes, and Mike will still do a series of challenges to determine the top students, and those challenges would carry on. In this timeline, Hawk would do a lot better during the challenges, and he would get more flags during the first flag challenge in this timeline, so Hawk would make the top 5, and Mike would still have to decide the remaining spot in Miyamoto's team. Those events would continue, and much like in the original timeline, Johnny would still go talk to Mike, and those events would stay the same. And the next day, Mike would still say that the last 3 were too close to call, so he would still have Devin, Kenny, and Dimitri race to get the last flag, so the challenge would begin. But in this timeline, Devin wouldn't put laxatives in Kenny's water, so Kenny would arrive at the flag first. But this is when Devin would show up, and she would want to take the flag from Kenny, but Kenny would be too fast, and he would avoid Devin, so Kenny would start running back to the group, and he would run past Dimitri, and he would also avoid him. So in this timeline, Kenny would get the final flag, so Kenny would be the final member on the Miyamoto team, and those events would carry on. Season 6 would continue. Kreese would still want to talk to Tori, but Tori still wouldn't want anything to do with Kreese. Tori's mom would still pass away, and Season 6 would carry on. Johnny and Daniel would still want Miguel and Robbie to compete for captain, so Miguel and Robbie would still fight. Robbie would still be balanced in this timeline, and he would still defeat Miguel, so Robbie would still be the boys' captain. Sam and Tori would still fight, and Tori would still be fighting with Anchor. Amanda and Daniel would still stop the fight, and much like in the original timeline, Tori would still quit Miyagi-Do, and she would still leave. So in this timeline, Sam would be the girls' Miyagi-Do captain, and Daniel and Johnny want Devin to take her place. Miyagi-Do would still make it to the Saikai Taikai, and they would be surprised to see Kreese and Cobra Kai there, and they would be heartbroken to see Tori and Cobra Kai. The Saikai Taikai would continue. Robbie would still want to talk to Tori, but Tori still wouldn't want to talk to the Miyagi-Dos. Kwon would still be challenging the other dojos to a kicking competition, and Robbie would still accept Kwon's challenge. So those events would stay the same. Eventually the Captain's War Challenge would begin. Miyagi-Do would be on defense, and they would still be doing Protect the Egg, but Tori and Kwon would still want to go after the Miyagi-Dos. Kwon would still go after Robbie, and Robbie and Kwon would still fight. Robbie would still be distracted by Tori, so Kwon would still take Robbie down, and Miyagi-Do would be out, so only the Cobra Kais and the Iron Dragons would remain. The rest of the Iron Dragons would still walk off, and Zara and Axel will be left to fight the Cobra Kais. Zara and Axel will still take down Kwon and Tori, so the Iron Dragons would win. The Saikai Taikai would continue. Miyagi-Do would still have to knock the other dojo off the platform, but Miyagi-Do wouldn't do so well. Miyagi-Do would still have to fight out Dublin Thunder. Robbie and Sam would still start off, and they would fight their opponents, but Robbie would still be distracted by Tori, so he would still be knocked off. So Hawk would join Sam on the platform. The fight would continue, and Sam would still be knocked off. Kenny would join Hawk, and they would continue fighting. And in this timeline, Hawk and Kenny would finish the fight, so Miyagi-Do would win. And much like in the original timeline, Carmen would still be rushed to the hospital, and Johnny and Miguel would have to leave, and Danny would call for Anthony to take Miguel's place. Anthony and Amanda would arrive in Barcelona, and Daniel and Sam would be happy to see them. The Miyagi-Do students would still go explore Barcelona, and they would still be at the tapas bar. This is when the Cobra Kais would show up, and Sam would still go outside to get some air. Kwon would still want to mess with Robbie, so Kwon and Robbie would start to have a rivalry. Zara would notice the connection between Tori and Robbie, and she would still want to mess with Tori, so those events would stay the same. Sam would still be walking down the beach, and she would still run into Axel, and the interaction between Sam and Axel would stay the same. Eventually Miguel and Johnny would come back to Barcelona, so Anthony wouldn't get a chance to fight in this timeline, but he would still go and watch the Saikai Taikai in person. Miyagi-Do would still fight Furia de Pantera. Hawk and Diego would fight, and Hawk would manage to land a point on Diego. Diego would tag in Maria, and Hawk would tag in Sam. Sam and Maria would continue to fight, and much like in the original timeline, Sam would land a point on Maria. The score would be 2-0. So Sam would tag in Devin. Devin would continue fighting, but Furia de Pantera would get a point on Devin. So Devin would tag in Miguel, and Miguel would get the final point. So Miauto would beat Furia de Pantera 3-1 in this timeline. And during the next team match, Miauto would fight Redentores, and Miguel would still start off. He would use a combination of offense and defense, and he would tag in Robbie, and Robbie would land the first point. Robbie would tag in Kenny, and much like in the original timeline, Kenny would get 2 points, and they would still advance in their matches. So Miauto and Cobra Kai wouldn't face off, the Saikai Taikai would continue, Cobra Kai would still fight Tiger Strike, and that fight would stay the same. Cobra Kai would fight Furia de Pantera. The match would be close, but Cobra Kai would end up winning, so both Cobra Kai and Miauto would make it to the semifinals. The Saikai Taikai would continue. Tiger Strike would still be eliminated for cheating during the tournament, so Furia de Pantera would take their place. The semifinals would begin. Quan and Diego would still fight, but Quan would still defeat him. Zara and Maria would fight, but Zara would still defeat Maria. Axel would still fight Robbie in the semifinals, and that fight would stay the same. Axel would still knock Robbie back, and Quan would still hit Robbie. Miguel would still be mad, and he would go confront Quan, but Axel would knock Miguel back, so Miguel and Axel would want to fight. Gunther would see that the Saikai Taikai was getting out of hand, and he would want everyone off the mats, but this is when Sensei Ivanov would knock Gunther out, and the brawl would still happen. Miguel would be angry, and he would fight Axel, but Axel would be able to knock Miguel back. Miguel would try using his defense, but Axel would get through it. The brawl would continue, and the season was still in the same way. Quan would still want to stab Axel, but Axel would sweep Quan's leg, and Quan would still land on the knife, so Quan would still be stabbed in this timeline, and everyone would be shocked. And that is where I'm going to end this what if. Thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think would have happened if Hawk made the team during the events of Cobra Kai Season 6? Let me know in the comments below. YouTube lets me know that the majority of you are not subscribed, so if you guys could subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And I'll see you guys next time.